To be very gentle. And we will very gently take that kid and we will slowly toss it, hoping it doesn't hit her and injure her arm.
For context, this comes the same day that Bill Shine started as overseeing communications inside the White House. Shine left Fox News after being criticized for turning a blind eye to sexual harassment claims at the network during his tenure there. And Senator Warren has just weighed in, tweeting, "Hey, Donald Trump, while you obsess over my genes, your administration is conducting DNA tests on little kids because you ripped them from their mamas and you are too incompetent to reunite them in time to meet a court order. Maybe you should focus on fixing the lives you're destroying." She's referring to the kids taken from their parents at the Mexican border. There is new reporting on that, and it's pretty shocking. First, though, Scott Pruitt, Senator Warren, Me Too, and the president. Caitlin Collins is back with us. Also joining us, former Obama ethics advisor and ambassador to the Czech Republic, Norm Eisen. Also Republican strategist Rick Wilson, author of the upcoming book, Everything Trump Touches Dies. And Trump supporter Steve Cortes, who is here with us and very healthy as far as we can tell. And I think he has touched the president in some way, literally and figuratively. Rick, I want to start with you here because you're a Republican strategist. You help run campaigns. You know how women are energized in this election season. A joke about the Me Too movement. How will that play this election year?
Look, Republican women have been fleeing Donald Trump, particularly college-educated Republican women, suburban women, because he is a guy who has spent a long time playing the role of this playboy figure and, you know, basically making a public spectacle of himself. Having relationships with porn stars and adult film stars and, you know, dry humping beauty pageant contestants. This is a guy who is not somebody that you would want to leave your daughter alone with. And so a lot of women are hearing this, and now they're hearing him joke about it. He's not a guy, you know, President grab him by the you-know-what. It's not a guy that's got a lot of latitude to be out there making jokes like that. And look, women are energized in this campaign season. Women are, a record number of women are running. A record number of women have turned out in the various races in Virginia, in New Jersey, in Alabama, et cetera, in Pennsylvania 18, et cetera. And so, you know, this is Donald Trump playing with fire as he usually does. And I think it's a risk that, you know, obviously he's going to take because he's not, you know, terribly cognizant of the fact that he is a national laughingstock when it comes to being you know, the first predator in chief.
Caitlin, I have not heard the president make any jokes about the Me Too movement yet. At least I don't think I have. You cover him day in and day out. Is this a first? Is this the type of thing you think that White House insiders would like to see him do more of, or is there concern tonight?
So, John, this is definitely the first time we've heard the president talk about this publicly like this. But we know that back behind the scenes, as all of this was unfolding, the Me Too movement, when it really started to get a lot of momentum, the president would talk about it and say that he thought it was unfair at times that people's lives could be destroyed by allegations. You'll recall he said a lot of that about that former staff secretary who worked here, Rob Porter, who was accused of domestic abuse of two of his ex-wives. The president has long said that and doubted a lot of the accusers of Me Too. That doesn't come as a surprise, of course, because this is a president accused of sexual assault himself, something he has publicly denied. So certainly that gives you the context. He said it privately, but not publicly. This is the first time we're hearing it. But it does come on the day, as you noted earlier, that this is the day that Bill Shine, that former co-president of Fox News, has started at the White House. Today was the first time we saw him on camera in his official capacity as the new deputy chief of staff who is in charge of communications. He is here. He is someone who was Roger Ailes' one of his top aides at Fox News. He stepped down from Fox News last year because he was accused not of sexual harassment as Roger Ailes was, but accused of covering up for Roger Ailes. Now, he has denied any wrongdoing, but he was named in several lawsuits from people who said that he helped cover up some of the things that Roger Ailes did when he was at Fox News. So keep this in mind. Bill Shine was on Air Force One with the president, as was Donald Trump Jr., the president's son, also on the way to Montana tonight. Now, I had tweeted earlier remarking that Bill Shine was acting in his official capacity here at the White House. We saw him getting into the motorcade with the president as they were ready to depart earlier. And Donald Trump Jr. made a remark about my tweet saying, get ready that the media and the liberal side are going to start taking shots at Bill Shine. And you could only assume that is part of what that conversation that led to the president saying that tonight.
Interesting. All right, Steve Cortes, Trump supporter. Do you think that mentioning Me Too like this is a smart strategy?
I don't. I'm not sure why he did. I love him castigating Elizabeth Warren and her ridiculous claims to be an American Indian, because it's absurd, and she should take a DNA test. And the fact that she engages in whataboutism, right? She immediately, rather than answer his challenge, she immediately starts talking about the border, which has nothing to do with that. I'd rather we just focus there. I'd also like to say, by the way, Bill Shine, who's already been a couple times in this segment disparaged, is a friend of mine, is an American patriot. He's an incredible master of media and messaging. I'm incredibly glad he's in the White House. He was never accused of any wrongdoing, of any sexual harassment himself. The fact that he was named in lawsuits, by the way, some of those lawsuits named every person, of any importance at Fox News. The fact that he was named in lawsuits, I think, is hardly a conviction of him or his character. And he's going to, I think, lead to a far better messaging White House from here forward.
Well, look, Caitlin didn't run down Bill Shine at all. She merely noted that he was on the plane, and it is a statement of fact that he has been named in lawsuits there, and it is a statement of fact that he was very much a big part of Fox News when a lot of those things were going on, and people have lost their jobs, and there's been, mountains and mountains written about that. So be that as it may, Ambassador Eisen, to you here, look, we're talking about the midterm elections. We have seen the energy among women heading into the midterm elections. Do you think that that will carry the Democrats, or are they going to need more than that?
There's no question, John, that the power of women candidates, women winning these primaries, women turning out and voting, has been a part of the mix. It's not by itself enough. An equal part of the story, as Rick noted, is the flight of college-educated women from Donald Trump. But, John, I think the revulsion of people across the American public for comments like the president made tonight are also going to play a role. What does Me Too, what does sexual harassment have to do with throwing a DNA kit across the stage? Nothing. Clearly, the president was envisioning, in that same twisted mind that gave us the Access Hollywood tape, something entirely different and disgusting. That's repellent. People of no gender like that. Even my friend Steve thinks he made a mistake, and he did. And, John, I'll tell you one other bizarre thing about the president's speech tonight. Every word out of his mouth hit on one of his vulnerabilities, because he also talked about DNA, as Senator Warren pointed out. DNA has to be used because of this administration's unconstitutional and botched separation of parents from children to reunite them. He talked about $1 million gift to charity. He's been sued by the New York AG for fraudulent charitable activity. That's going to trial before the election. So I heard it as more of a confession than a campaign speech.
Rick Wilson, I want to ask you quickly about Scott Pruitt, who will soon be no longer with this administration. I was speaking to Maggie Haberman last hour. She actually said it was Caitlin Collins, who's sitting right above you right now. Caitlin's reporting that Pruitt was pushing the president to fire Jeff Sessions and replace him with Scott Pruitt, alongside CNN's Drew Griffin's reporting about changing some calendars, that was the straw, not the 14 previous investigations. But this new reporting this week was enough to get the president and those people closest to him just tired of dealing with Scott Pruitt.
Well, I think Caitlin's reporting on that was very incisive and probably had an impact on this question. And I do think also that, Scott Pruitt was sort of the clown prince of corruption in this administration. This was a guy he acted like he was in some third world kleptocracy, and was trying to cash out as much as he possibly could the entire time. But he finally crossed the president's unspeakable line, where it caused him more hassles than it was worth. And I find that, look, the defenses of Scott Pruitt in this town, in D.C., that lasted for months and months and months. Oh, he's doing all this great work. He's doing all these great things. Those things, all those people that were making those defenses had a chance over and over again to take a step away from Trump and didn't. So the fact that they're all sort of standing there with egg on their face tonight is hilarious to me. And I do think that this idea that when you're in this much ethical trouble, you try to double down and say, "Oh, make me the Attorney General, the Chief Law Enforcement Officer of the United States." It's ludicrous. It was an absurdity, and Pruitt reaped the whirlwind from it.
And Steve Cortes, just to be clear, you think it was time for Scott Pruitt to grow here? You're not really crying any tears over this?
Oh, gosh, quite the opposite. No, I'm very happy. I said so yesterday on CNN, and I've advised the president both publicly and privately that I thought Scott Pruitt was becoming an unnecessary distraction. I thought he did. Here's the shame of it, from my perspective. I thought he did a great job at EPA. He did a wonderful job of deconstructing the administrative state, the weapon that the EPA had become against American business, particularly American small business. He did a great job there, but somehow he was just so ethically challenged. He was so swamped that he couldn't get over himself. And quite frankly, when we run against the swamp, as we did in 2016, we have to be cleaner than clean. And he wasn't. And because of that, he needs to go. He did important work, but it's good that he's gone.
Steve Cortes, Norm Eisen, Rick Wilson, Caitlin Collins, thanks for sticking around, Caitlin. Thank you very much for your reporting. Perspective next from David Axelrod. And ahead, as we've touched on briefly already, the kids taken at the border, the man in charge of reuniting with their families is asked how much progress he has made, and the answer he gives is stunning. And later, the president's narrowing down his Supreme Court pick, the first departure to bring back memories of one of candidate Trump's favorite campaign promises.
We're going to make America great again. We're going to use our best people.
I'm going to get the best people.
We're going to deliver. We're going to get the best people in the world.
We don't want people that are B level, C level, D level. We have to get our absolute best.
We're going to use our smartest and our best. We're not using political hacks anymore. It's a sophisticated chess match, but I have the best people lined up.
You need people that are truly, truly capable. We have to get the best people.
Joining us now, one of our own best people, former Obama senior advisor David Axelrod, host of the Axe Files here on CNN. David, what does it say about this administration and this president that it took this long, this many scandals, 14 investigations before Pruitt resigned?
Well, it says that ethics aren't a real big deal here, and that should not be a surprise because everything flows from the top. And when you have a president who has basically given the back of his hand to people who have asked to see his tax returns, when you have his children on the White House staff making $78 million on the side and so on. I mean, the message is very clear, which is take what you can get, however you can get it, but don't become a political liability. And what Scott Pruitt did was he became a political liability because his offenses were so legion and garnering so much coverage that it overshadowed everything else, including the things that he's done. I mean, I have deep objections to what he's done at the EPA, but a lot of people in the Republican base do not. They like it. Certainly the donor base and the energy in the old energy community, they really like it, in the oil industry and so on, in the coal industry. But, you know, these stories became so pronounced and so outrageous that, and maybe bordering on things that will lead him into a criminal situation, that they just decided we have to cut the cord here.
Given all the things you just said, does it surprise you at all that the president said it was all Pruitt's choice and that there was no final straw here?
It may be one of those times when the president isn't being entirely candid with us about how the process came down. There is no doubt, I mean, he's been defending Pruitt, and there's no doubt that a decision was made either on the basis of knowledge about what may be coming down the pike or on the basis of what we've already seen, that this guy isn't worth the trouble anymore. And, you know, Pruitt's made very clear that he likes the job, and why wouldn't he like the job? He's got his security detail. He flies first class. He sends his security guys around to find his favorite lotion at posh hotels and all of that stuff. But so I don't think that he just woke up and said, you know what, I don't think this is good for me. I think that he was told he had to go.
I have been told, by the way, that it is terrific lotion, by the way, at the Ritz. So Pruitt may have been onto something when he was asking a security detail to drive him around so he could pick it up.
You hang around in more hoity-polloi
I haven't used it. I was told.
John,
I was actually told by people that it is something special. Whether or not you should have your security detail drive you around to get it, that's a completely different story. We're hearing tonight, David, that
it is indeed.
White House officials are relieved this is over. EPA insiders are relieved this is over. Trump supporters, these are the ones who are part of our family here at CNN. Steve Cortes, I just spoke with, he's relieved.
You just heard Steve, yes.
He's relieved this is over.
Yeah.
It makes it all the more surprising to me that it got to this point.
Yeah. But I think there's only one, there's only one person who has 100% of the voting shares in that administration, and that's the president. And I'm sure that he's watched on the channels that he watches and on the